all of our communities by offering to all loving same-sex couples the dignity of marriage across this great land.
A huge ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court. Same-sex marriage is now legal in all 50 states. We've got live team coverage this noon of this landmark ruling. Our John Gonzalez and Chris Papps with reaction standing by. But let's start with ABC 7's senior political reporter Scott Thuman, who is live outside the High Court right now. Hey there, Scott.
Hi, Jimmy. Quite a day out here. You know, this was an issue that we knew was going to be front and center on the minds of people as they watched the Supreme Court in these couple of weeks, waiting for that decision to be handed down. In the end, we get it 5-4 majority in favor of equality in all 50 states, as they called it. You know, technically it was only legal gay marriage we're speaking of in 36 states and D.C. until today. Then, of course, this decision, and it was perhaps preempted by the fact that the justices allowed extra time for oral arguments on this case, something they don't typically do. But they seem to indicate that this is how they were leaning. Now, while it is a close decision, it means that 14 states which currently have bans will no longer be able to enforce those. There will be a brief period of time before this will be upheld, 2 to 3 weeks perhaps, because the court gives the losing side an opportunity to request reconsideration. But the second big victory for the Obama administration, at least if we look at this politically, in 2 days, and here the president speaking shortly after the announcement.
It's a victory for gay and lesbian couples who have fought so long for their basic civil rights. It's a victory for their children, whose families will now be recognized as equal to any other. It's a victory for the allies and friends and supporters who spent years, even decades, working and praying for change to come. And this ruling is a victory for America. This decision affirms what millions of Americans already believe in their hearts. When all Americans are treated as equal, we are all more free.
Now, I just spoke with Jim Obergefell, one of the main plaintiffs in this case, just moments ago, and he just got off the phone with President Obama, who was congratulating him on his efforts here at the Supreme Court. The point of that conversation I found most interesting, though, is he admitted it's not over, that there will continue to be legal fights. For example, can a wedding photographer refuse to serve a gay couple? Will that person be considered discriminatory, or will they have some legal shield? Those are issues still to be sorted out. But for now, you've got the court's ruling. It is a landmark one, and it's why we heard a lot of instant celebratory reaction here outside the U.S. Supreme Court. Jimmy?
All right, Scott, thank you for that great work out there. We want to show you this. The opinion issued by Justice Kennedy included several powerful passages. He concluded with this one. No union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. In forming a marital union, two people become something greater than they once were. As some of the petitioners in these cases demonstrate, marriage embodies a love that may endure even past death. It would misunderstand these men and women to say they disrespect the idea of marriage. Their plea is that they do respect it so deeply that they seek to find its fulfillment for themselves. Their hope is not to be condemned to live in loneliness, excluded from one of civilization's oldest institutions. They ask for equal dignity in the eyes of the law. The Constitution grants them that right. Our team coverage continues now with our John Gonzalez, also at the Supreme Court this noon, with reaction from the large growing crowd out there. John?
Jimmy, good afternoon, and the best way to describe this crowd is a celebration, and it continues this afternoon here outside of the U.S. Supreme Court, and I'm confident in saying that 98% of the crowd is made up of gay rights advocates, couples, and families that have been waiting years for this decision. And, you know, it actually comes on the 2-year anniversary of the Supreme Court's decision to allow married same-sex couples to receive federal benefits. And, well, we are seeing a number of equality signs and rainbow flags. They've been out here for several hours. We're going to speak with a couple that has been together for some 29 years, married for 2 years. This is Helen and Catherine. Your reaction. Here we are just hours after the historic moment. Your reaction.
We're ecstatic. We're absolutely ecstatic. We think this is terrific for America, and it sets an example for other countries. I think when Ireland took its vote in favor of gay marriage, I think that people sat up and said, "Wow, Ireland!" And I think people are going to sit up and say, "The United States."
Your thoughts. Your wife said it all, but your thoughts.
No, and she often does. I'm just almost in tears. I mean, honestly, it's so moving.
I can tell.
We're married. We're recognized. We live in a progressive area, but we have friends in the South, for heaven's sakes, who now can either get married or the marriage can be recognized. That is just overwhelming.
Thank you, ladies, so much for your time. Thank you so much. So as I walk down the street here, I want to show you a couple more things here. The crowd is so big that U.S. Capitol Police actually, sorry about that, you actually had to close down one lane. So one lane of First Street here has been closed down. Now, obviously, I said earlier, it's hard to find the other side, if you will, but we did find a couple of folks here. This is Dustin. You are against the decision today. Why?
Well, as the public relations person for LifeSite News, we're Catholic-based. We understand human nature. We understand religious liberty. We also understand the U.S. Constitution. The Supreme Court's 2013 Windsor decision kept marriage with the states. This decision overturns that. Internationally, at the Federalist, there's a piece up right now talking about how internationally the propagation of same-sex marriage leads to restriction of religious liberty as well as rights for parents and children. These are our major concerns here with this decision, as well as the fact that human nature shows that same-sex relationships are harmful for children and people in those relationships.
Thank you, Dustin, so much for your opinion. And, you know, as this announcement came down, it was absolute jubilation by the crowd here, and then hundreds actually, I say, stormed the plaza here in front of the U.S. Supreme Court as they greeted the 32 plaintiffs as they came down the steps there with their hands raised high. Jimmy, back to you inside.
Okay, John, thank you so much. That was reaction out there, but we are getting a lot of comments coming in on social media as well. So let's get right to Chris Pabst in the ABC 7 newsroom with that side of the story. Chris?
Well, Jimmy, ever since this decision came down by the Supreme Court, we have been monitoring this, and an overwhelming majority of people on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they are supporting this ruling, but of course there are always those who are not supporting it. So let's get a look at some of the things that people are saying here. This person says, "This is a historic day for our nation's history. For too long, same-sex couples have been discriminated against because of who they are and who they love." This person, clearly taking this picture at the United States Supreme Court here in Washington, D.C., says today is a day that will be talked about forever. Another one here, have a little issue here. See if we can bring this back up, make it a little bit bigger here for you. Let's see if it comes up. We are having some issues here with the banjo and the set. Now, this person said that he was from a state that banned gay marriage just about 7 years ago, and he's proud to be in a state now, or be in a country where everybody can now be married to the person that they want to be married to. But of course, there are people, as we said, that are against this ruling. One person posted an image on Twitter of a man and a woman holding hands, saying just because it is legal doesn't necessarily mean that it is right, and said marriage will be and has always been between a man and a woman. Now, if you have some opinions on this, just head to our Facebook page and write down whatever your opinions may be. Some of those we will read tonight at 4. Jimmy, back to you.